Lesley Villatoro, 14-1-526-4.
Your Honor, Ms. Villatoro is appearing before this court, making her first appearance, and with the establishing probable cause for the crimes of complicity and attempted murder in the first degree, count 1, kidnapping in the first degree, counts 2, 3, and 4, and that will be complicity in those events. Also complicity in burglary in the first degree, count 5, and complicity in robbery in the first degree, count 6.
Counsel, thank you. Counsel, all set to proceed?
We are. Thank you.
Ma'am, what's your full name?
Lesley Villatoro.
An emergency call was received by 911 Police Dispatch on May 2nd, 2014 at 10:04 and 15 seconds a.m. The call indicated there was a car pedestrian crash in the 5300 block of Patriot Place in Ferndale, which is located in Whatcom County, Washington. Shortly after the first call, another call was received by 911 that a man and woman were outside the residence in the 5300 block of Patriot Place, and a woman was bleeding. Due to this call, Ferndale police officers and aide were dispatched to this scene. At 10:04 and 33 seconds, another call was received by 911 that there were shots fired at Ferndale High School, that there was an active shooter. This caused law enforcement to lock down the Ferndale High School as well as a number of other Ferndale schools, and officers responded from the Sheriff's Department, Bellingham, the Ferndale officers, of course, also Border Patrol, and also the FBI. Officers went from room to room and checked to make certain that there were no threats and that there was a safe situation for the students and the staff. They found no threats, no evidence that shots had been fired, and this took a period of time. As that was going on at 10:11 and 30 seconds, this would have been about 6 minutes after the call to the dispatch on the Ferndale High School, another call came in to 911 that shots had been fired at Home Depot in Bellingham. Police officers from Bellingham responded to that. They immediately responded to that call, and they found that there was no evidence that shots had been fired. 911 dispatch was able to identify both false shooting calls as having originated from the same phone number. After the call had come into 911 that a man and woman were outside their residence located in the 5300 block of Patriot Place, and a woman was bleeding, police and aide were dispatched. In addition, a citizen who reported, injured female, reported that a male had left the scene in a black Tahoe vehicle. The citizens also discovered that the woman who was bleeding, her throat had been slashed very deeply, it covered trachea, and she was zip-tied with her hands tied behind her back. She had run out of the house and had collapsed her in the street. As the aid cars are responding to this call, one of the aid crew called dispatch and indicated that he believed he was behind the vehicle matching the description that had been given to 911 of a black Tahoe that had a man in it that was leaving the vicinity where the woman had been very severely injured. A sheriff's deputy from the Whatcom County Sheriff's Office responded and got in behind where the aid car was, got in behind the black Tahoe vehicle, and a high-speed chase then continued at that point. The vehicle that appeared to be occupied by one male proceeded and ended up on Smith Road in Whatcom County, where the sheriff's deputy, and he had lights on, and Siren was trying to force the vehicle to stop. It did not. He performed a pit maneuver, which is striking the rear of the vehicle, which will cause it to rotate and stop. And this was done. The vehicle stopped. The deputy approached, and there were other deputies there also approached the vehicle to arrest the driver. They told the driver to get his hands up. The individual did that. They opened the door and they found that he had been shot, and he had shot himself in the head. It was a self-inflicted wound. He was pulled from the vehicle and he subsequently died from his injuries. When they pulled him from the vehicle, they discovered that he had a cell phone on him. He also was dressed in black clothing, had a black hooded sweatshirt, had a black mask in his vehicle, had black gloves, also had a firearm that he had used on himself, and also zip ties came out of one of his pockets when he was placed on the ground, and the aid crew tried to work on him. The aid personnel responded to the Patriot Place address, discovered that the one woman who was our victim, and I've listed her And also the 3 victims in this case with initials. They're concerned about their identities, and we really would wish to identify them by the initials, and we also listed dates of birth, so we certainly know who they are. She is identified as SRB. She'd been stabbed in the throat area and suffered life-threatening wounds. She was rushed emergently to St. Joseph's Hospital, was immediately taken into surgery. After the surgery, the victim was able to write. She could not speak because of the injuries to her throat, to her larynx. She indicated that she, by writing, had answered the front door and was confronted by a male later identified as Chad Horn. He was a man that had shot himself to death that was stopped by the sheriff's department. He held a gun in his hand. He entered her residence, and she, at that point, had picked up and held her 1-year-old, and this we identified by the initials EB, and he was 1 year old, a bit over a 1-year-old daughter. At that time, Mr. Horn removed the 1-year-old from SRB's arms and placed the 1-year-old in a high chair. He had the gun with him at all this time. He also told the victim's 5-year-old son, who we've identified by the initials JB, to go into another room and stay there. He then demanded the SRB's vehicle, which was parked outside, and he demanded that she go out and start the vehicle. He kept the children there under his control with his gun. She went out and started the vehicle, came right back in because she was worried about the safety of her children. At that point, he told her to get on the ground so he could tie her up. He used zip ties to tie her hands behind her back. And at that point, he immediately slashed her throat with a very large knife. We found a knife with about a 7-inch blade in his vehicle after he was stopped and received a fatal wound. Then, during the time after he had slashed her throat, she was trying to resist. He fired a shot. The shot missed her. We had a shot into the wall, and the victim thought that she was dead, thought that she was going to die. He, at that point, immediately left the house, got into the vehicle. She realized that if she did not leave, she would bleed to death. She got up and she ran out and got help from a neighbor. She was unable to speak because of the injury. The neighbor is the one who then reported the black Tahoe as having left the area. At the time, officers responded, and of course officers were, of course, out at the Ferndale High School, and they were also out at Home Depot, but officers are responding to all of these events. And they discovered that Mr. Horn's cell phone was on his person. Through the phone numbers in the cell phone, detectives were able to contact his relatives, including his girlfriend, Miss Villatoro, who was appearing here before Your Honor. The officers spoke to her. They didn't know what, if any, involvement she had at that point with this case. She indicated, and after questioning, she was resistant about talking about some of this, but indicated that she had given Chad Horn, the decedent, a ride to the area near the victim's house on Patriot Lane in Ferndale. And when he got out, he had taken a bag out of the trunk of the car. And at that point, he told her he would meet her in 30 minutes, and they had a designated area where they would be. She indicated she went to that area, and she did not see him, and did not hear from him, and she then returned to her home. She indicated that she later looked online, and she looked on CNN to see what had happened to him, apparently certainly understanding that there was going to be a horrendous thing that he was involved in. She found the news story covering her boyfriend's death on the Herald online, and she indicated when officers spoke to her that she was expecting police to knock on her door. She indicated also when they spoke to her, when the officers spoke to her, they asked, "Are you the one who planned this whole thing?" She said no, and they asked, "Was just Chad the one that planned it?" She said yeah. At that point, search warrants, and a number of search warrants have been obtained. A search warrant was obtained for her vehicle, and in her vehicle a 5-gallon gas can was found in the trunk that was full of gas. Men's clothing and a backpack was discovered in her vehicle. The backpack had shorts, men's shorts, a t-shirt, and the same type of shoes that the decedent Chad Horn was wearing when he was discovered and apprehended. There was also bleach in her car and also a police scanner. There was also bleach in Chad Horn, had that in the Tahoe that he had stolen. And he had that along with the other items that I mentioned. And it is well known that bleach can be used to get rid of DNA or to get rid of fingerprints. And the gasoline was there, which also could be utilized to get rid of the evidence of the vehicle. The officers, when they were investigating this, also discovered that statements were made that Mr. Horn indicated he didn't want to go back to prison and he would kill himself instead if he would be apprehended. Your Honor, the state believes that this establishes probable cause for complicity in all of the events that I've mentioned. The kidnappings relate to holding the people, the victim, as well as the two young children. The robbery relates to stealing the vehicle. There was an attempted murder that came very, very close to accomplishing its purpose. And I believe that this establishes probable cause for all of those events.